Burden of Dreams, Return of the Sleepwalker, Alane, Megatron. Are these the names of new wild anime series? Or of the hardest bouldering problems in the world? In the following minutes, we'll take on a trip around the world in search of the maddest, raddest, and hardest boulders out there. Some are in remote areas, in magic forests, and others in canyons right in the backyards of famous pro climbers. So, get comfortable on your crash pads because the V17s are a rowdy bunch. But wait until the end to see some honorable mentions. They're so controversial. Bouldering has taken the world by storm in the last few years. As the sport grows popular, reaching new audiences, and the Olympics, the real OGs go back to the roots to see where it all started, climbing the real deal. Now, let's hop on the Sen train and go straight to number 1. Located in the forests of Lapnor, Finland, Burden of Dreams is the first on our list, a long-standing madness of a project that has been lurking in the minds of pro climbers since its discovery back in 2013. First ascended by Finnish climber Alane Taival, this 4-meter, 8-move test piece took him over 4,000 tries and 6 climbing seasons over the course of 3 years until he could claim the ascent. Sitting at a perfect 45-degree angle, this granite monolith is as clean as a sheet of paper, with only a few crimps, pinches, and a sloper on the top that offers you a little grip until you fall again on your 1,000th time. Apart from being overhung and poor in holds, these are also positioned in awkward directions, and don't even get me started on the footholds, which are close to non-existent for 98% of the climbers. The moves are long and require powerful, dynamic movements with shitty footholds demanding the climber's body tension and balance. The real cool thing about this boulder isn't only how hard it is, but what people are doing to practice it. Will Bosey, with the help of Aiden Roberts, put up a 3D plastic replica of the boulder printed out so he could practice it back home before arriving at the boulder itself to send it. Only 4 people have sent this problem up until now: Alane Taival, Will Bosey, Simon Lorenzi, and Elias Lagnema. Other top-tier climbers like Sean Robitou, Stefan Gisolfi, and Daniel Woods have also given their shots at climbing this route, but Lady Luck hasn't smiled upon them yet. The second V17 in our list starts at the base of the infamous Sleepwalker, a V16 boulder established by Jimmy Webb in 2016. Located at the bottom of Black Velvet Canyon, Sleepwalker sparked the imagination of many climbers, but not as much as it did for Daniel Woods. Maybe after falling in love with what may be considered one of the most aesthetically pleasing rocks in the world, 3 years later, after repeating Sleepwalker, Daniel added a sit start to the web line, creating Return of the Sleepwalker. The route starts with 6 moves of V13 directly into the V17 boulder, which is a ruthless sequence of moves, each one individually being harder than V9 or V10. It took Daniel 3 months of intense battles with the rock and himself. He quit alcohol, quit smoking, and quit caffeine, and started training obsessively just to reach his goal. He put everything on the line and revolved his entire life around this climb. At first, he began with a group of strong climbers, but after they left, he stayed alone projecting the climb, entering a frenzy mindset of lonerism, camping by the boulder, battling his inner demons. Finally, on March 30th, 2021, Woods managed to be the first to ascend the V17 boulder in the US.
Yeah!
A second ascend was also done by, guess who? The one and only Will Bosey. He worked fiercely for 3 days on Sleepwalker, and after sending it, rated it as a V15. Although he downgraded Sleepwalker, he reaffirmed that Return is indeed a V17. Moving back to the old continent, we are at Kronico, Switzerland, one of the most popular bouldering areas in Europe, and home to the third test piece in our list, Alane. First discovered by Dave Graham in the early 2000s, it was soon abandoned. It was probably a wise choice, considering the hardest line at the time was a V15. This boulder might be the most diverse of the various V17s out there. It features a blend of extremely powerful and technical climbing at an unreal level. Starting with a set of powerful moves on crimps, the route moves to the middle section, which involves open hand positions with technical drop knees and heel hooks, finally ending with an easy V10 exit. Almost 2 decades after its initial discovery, Alane was about to make the front page in the climbing news, with Sean Robitou establishing the first ascent on April 6, 2022. Sean spent around 25 sessions projecting on the route, with the most difficult part being linking the individual moves. In the time spent working on the boulder, he gave around 2 tries per session, usually failing on the last move. Nerve-wracking. For months after the ascent, in his natural style, Rabatou made his climb public and suggested the V17 grade to the problem. The same year, British climber Aidan Roberts made the first repeat of Alane, quickly followed by Will Bosey, who, after sending Alane, became the most accomplished boulderer in terms of having sent the most V17 boulders. At least until now. He described Alane as a soft V17, but said he doesn't feel he has enough experience to know for sure yet. The last climber to send Alane is Austrian bulldozer and God mode climber Jakob Schubert. After seeing the route, Jakob became the world's only athlete to climb the highest boulder grade, V17, and the largest lead grade, 9C, Project Big in Flattinger Cave in Norway. The last consensus on our list of V17 hard boulders is back in the United States, and you might be surprised by who made it to the top. It was first ascended by the climbing world prince Sean Rabatou. If you wonder why the court titles, it is because Sean is the son of the royal climbing family, the Rabatous. His mother, Robin Rabatou, is a 4-time world champion, and his sister, Brooke Rabatou, just won silver at the Paris Olympics, so the titles were well deserved. This boulder sits in the forests of El Dorado Canyon, Colorado, basically Rabatou's backyard. This 17-move masterpiece has been projected and was envisioned by many climbers. 2022 was the prince's year. 3 months after putting the first ascension on Alane, Sean came back home to show everyone who runs the show, and sent Megatron as well. Not to mention 2 more V16s and lots of V13 to 15 boulders in between. You know, easy stuff. Again, this V17 builds on another climb, Tron, a V14 first ascended by Daniel Woods. Megatron features a lower start in the initial line, with 7 more V15 moves running directly into Tron without any rest. The climb is described as having powerful moves on nasty holds, with the move linking the lower start to Tron being extremely difficult. The second person to repeat this, surprise, it's Will Bosey. Actually, no. Will hasn't climbed this boulder. Nor have Lorenzi, or Daniel Woods. It remains unrepeated for the time being. We'll have to wait and see who else will be able to send this test piece that's practically begging for a repeater. Now it's time for the honorable mentions, and you won't believe the lengths people went to climb what are considered to be V17s until a consensus is reached. A rather tricky and controversial boulder problem is Lombert du Voyageur in France, which was climbed by Charles Barefoot Albert. Wonder why barefoot? Well, you know, he climbed it barefoot. This route is a bit of a weird duck for various reasons. Firstly, it's a long climb route following a crack in the ceiling of a cave. It runs for 10 meters, which could be considered a short sport route or a highball. Secondly, Charles climbed it au natural. No knee pads, no shoes, you know, barefoot. While he is the only one to have climbed it, the grade might change when coming equipped like in the 21st century, as you'll see for our next honorable mention. The last line in our list that really put the Redditors on fire is Sanse, which is located in the famous Fontainebleau bouldering heaven, a short distance from Paris. Like most of the other hardest climbs, it builds on another boulder, the Big Island, the most repeated V15 in the world. When looking at it, you cannot ignore the lower start, which would become Sanse. This low start adds 6 to 7 strong V12 moves, climbing straight into the V15 with, you guessed it, no rest. This boulder is controversial for 2 main reasons. The first is the grade. Simon Lorenzi, the climber who sent Burden of Dreams, first ascended it in February 2021 and suggested a V17 grade, making it the second in the world, a month before Daniel Wood sent Return of the Sleepwalker. Shortly after, in the month of March, Nico Pellerson repeated the climb and said it was one of the hardest climbs he'd ever done, but not a V17. This made things a bit awkward. What to do now? A year later, Camille Coudert also climbed it and said it was worthy of a V17, but still, a consensus was not reached. The situation as of now is that it's a slash grade, V16/V17, until more people will climb it to try and grade it. The second controversy is Lorenzi's usage of knee pads. This by itself was a bit questionable, at least for the climbing purists, but Simon took it a step further and put a book inside his knee pad, thus enlarging the size of his leg and helping him widen the reach of his knee bar. This stunt took the climbing world by storm. The debates, whether it's legit or not, people on both sides lashing out. It was like asking people from Napoli if it's okay to put cheddar on cheese pizza instead of mozzarella. You can guess the reactions. If not, just open this topic on any subreddit and you'll quickly find out. But what do you think? Is it okay to use books in the knee pads? What is the hardest boulder of the top ones? Is climbing barefoot in the same league? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you're up to date on the pulse of rock climbing every week.